For about 4 years now, I have said I'm going to clean up my book room. I'm going to reorganize the shelves. It's going to happen. And then it hasn't. And every year I restart it because this is the year, and it never is. It has been a few months since I've updated my Twitter and Blue Sky thread about rearranging them. But I have started scheduling my life, and it's working. So here we are with a vlog to make me finish this. And basically I'm going to go through all of my manga. We have two categories. One which is either shelved or waiting to be shelved and read, and books that are in the out shelf. Because I have wanted for years to have a bookstore, and at this point I'm kind of happy to go the Shopify route rather than brick and mortar. And I want to make sure that I am going to give these ones up. I do think I know what the first manga I bought was. It was either some volume of Vampire Knight, and I don't think I have those anymore, or Record of a Fallen Vampire, which I do, and which is bonkers. It's pretty bonkers, but we're not doing that. We're going to start with this, Alice in the Country of Hearts. It was a game that I was pretty obsessed with, but I don't think ever quite managed to get to localization. I think they tried a translation app, and the translation wasn't great, and then the company shut down. But we're going to start with this one because this is why I'm not great at reading manga. This one was published through Yen Press, but for years, probably up until the pandemic, I absolutely refused to buy any Seven Seas Press books, and so we'll talk about that. So this series covers 3 volumes. These characters are all from the first. I think this one and this one are characters from another game in the series, and then this is the final volume. So I've been trying to timeline it, and I think I was around midway through the academy when I got onto Tumblr and into the Heart no Kuni no Alice fandom. And people hate Hoshino for this. And the common refrain is blood is sexist here, where he was sweet and awkward in the game. And it had been long enough that I didn't really remember what was in this. But as with all the manga for the series, it opens up with Alice coming to Wonderland. And here the White Rabbit kind of makes her drink a potion by kissing her. And so I read that and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. And I guess I'm not surprised given all of the complaints about Hoshino. I also did not care at the time, and I'm really kind of struggling to care now. There's a lot that I like about this series, and Alice in Wonderland has been done to death, right? But the Mad Hatter, Blood Dupree, is a mafia boss, and if not all of the characters, to be fair, I don't think Julius is particularly so, but they're so trigger happy. Yeah, I don't have it in me to care. Honestly, I'm just having a really good time with it. Honestly, it sounds mean to say, but I'd completely forgotten about this guy. That said, I do love that his violin turns into a gun. I absolutely get it. this is an Otome game. People care about the romances, but I really love that dynamic between Blood and Vivaldi. I was sure that I was remembering this correctly, but it was really nice to see that, just to prove that my memory has not failed me. I was actually a little bit more annoyed with the portrayal of Blood than I thought I was going to be. And I'm a little bit leery of some of the other characters. Like, obviously, in his manga, where he is the love interest, Peter White does get to be sweeter. But I don't know. Is he genuinely like this in the games? Or is this another case of the mangaka doing dirty? I don't know. It does kind of get to be a little bit much, the screaming matches at each other. Yeah, that's a little bit disappointing. And I can still follow along, but it does feel a little bit more disjointed. So, yeah, not quite what I was hoping it was going to be. Also, there's a lot less progress in this volume between Alice and Blood than I expected there to be. But I do, again, like that we've got two Blood and Vivaldi. Okay, so one last thing. Someone's, plural, have been bringing up A.G. Howard's series, and I don't remember the name of it, but you'll know the one I'm talking about. And they think the author might be aware of A Heart No Kuni no Alice. They're not saying it in like a plagiarism way, but they're talking about like a character that's kind of like Blood in another one, and like mentioning the clocks, which is very intriguing. And I think I might want to read them now. So this is the manga shelf, which I'll be reading from. You may notice that there's a big jump between volume 4 to volume 26, but around the start of the pandemic, it got really hard to find volumes of Kimi ni Todoke, and so I just grabbed what I could. So being that I finished the first volume a while ago, I feel like we should talk about the Seven Seas situation. And I want to be clear, this was a big thing in the fandom, and I was mad enough at Seven Seas to not buy Seven Seas manga. So I haven't read most of the ones that they're complaining about in this translation is not by Seven Seas. So this is, I'm basically taking what other people are saying, and they did provide, I think, screenshots at the time, but I don't have the bandwidth or the free time to like go hunting through blogs from what, a decade ago. So just bear that in mind. People don't like Hoshino's Blood because he is mischaracterized. He's a lot more sexist and crass. And then other manga came out. For instance, Alice in the Country of Hearts, My Fanatic Rabbit, Alice in the Country of Hearts, The Clockmaker's Story. This, because it's an Otome game, different characters have different roots. And so while these are all set within the world, they're not like a chronological story. They are standalones. But this translator took that mischaracterization of Blood and then spread it across all of the translations, even in books where he was not the main character, not the love interest. So an example given is this line which goes, "I ended up getting in your way, why not give me a chance too, young lady? It's a minimal apology, but I believe I can definitely make it worth your while. And apparently, this translator made the English. Did I spoil your pudding orgy? I'd like to get in on that, little tart. Maybe my skills can make up for your lost lays. Uh, you can see why people hate the decisions that this translator made. Also, and this is probably why I was so heated about this at the time, it completely fled my mind in the decade since, but like, Leanne, the translator, responded, and it is the biggest crock of bullshit. Giving him a few lines of mean dialogue means I'm not selling a romantic package of a psychotic, previously abusive man to a Western and largely teenage audience without a tiny little reminder tag. I mean, babe, what the fuck? Do you think... Would you argue then that, like, we can't have reimaginings of Cinderella? That one characterization means it cannot be changed ever? Like, it's such bullshit. That wasn't his, like, backstory for English audiences until you made it his backstory for English audiences. Like, my god. We're not selling, like, it's just the most victim blamey bullshit. Like, do you think little girls are fully automatons? Like, the moment that they see a thing, they are caught by contagion and cannot think for themselves. Like, also, what if one of those little girls got into an abusive relationship? Either are you going to blame it on her for reading the wrong things? Like, it's gross. Excuse the angle shift, I had to check whether it succeeded or not. There were also, remember when Seven Seas was like the first translator organisation, publisher thing to come out with Dan May translations, and they pretty much cornered that market for English readers. Do you remember when the complaints came out that some of the translations were just straight up incorrect? And then it came out that the turnover times were really bad for the translators. Seven Seas translators and editors went on to try and unionize. They succeeded. That's the thing I need to check. They succeeded. But, like, still with, like, the mistranslations even, they succeeded in 2022. So this was recent. It just feels like they were bullshit. They are bullshit. I do buy a lot of Seven Seas manga and read it now, but, like, it's still on the shit list for me personally. Okay, so we've gotten to the part where blood is on full dickish display, and it is crass and coarse. Not as bad as the example that I read out to you yesterday, but it is along that line. That said, I hate it. I hate this characterization of him, mischaracterization of him. However, a little sympathy for the devil here. Because, you know, I read it and my mind immediately went back to the translator that everyone really is angry at. And it's because the conversation that they're having loop back around to everyone falls in love with the outsider. And that did not go down well with me, because my immediate thought was I would also be pissed at Alice, and frankly I would have tried to kill her if that were the case. If I were one with duties and in that world, I would try to kill the outsider before it could take root, because, listen, this is a mush of the Otomi roots and I don't remember how true to the games it is, nor do I remember if it deals with this particularly, but Miss Feminist Translator, why did you not ping the consent issues in this? And to be clear, I'm not a dark romance girly, but I do like that from time to time. I don't care about the consent issues, but it just feels really weird to me that your argument is evangelical book banning rhetoric, and you think and you're because the power dynamic is biased in Alice's favor, and it reads really weird to me that you're not taking an issue with that, given how much consent is a thing in feminist discourse. Because surely at that point, this is a manga and a manga series that you do not want to be involved with at that point, because there is yeah. Anyway, it does not make sense to me, and I'm trying not to spend any more time puzzling over someone's lack of logic. But yeah, it rings to me as we care about women as victims, but it's not something that we care about when it's men. And I think that's really unfair. But it's still the thing that's coming to mind. Anyway, I have not been able to stop thinking about that scene where Alice kind of remembers her sister. And I would much rather be focusing on that. And like I said, I really love the way the series deals with grief. Yeah, let's talk about that instead. Also, this guy, he does show up in it, but he is also a character from another one of the games. I don't know if it's the Country of Clover or whatever. So I was right and I was wrong. Okay, so I got really curious because we finally got some Vivaldi and Alice, and she does get a romantic ending. She is an option. She also shows up in the other game, Joker no Kuni no Alice. And so I'm very happy about this. I don't know why. It's not like you can watch or play the game anymore, but I'm happy. Boris is genuinely so sweet. I actually feel kind of bad about it because I've never really appreciated him. But he's one of the best characters. I am a little bit curious though. I mean, obviously Elliot denies that he is a rabbit, so he won't, but Peter has been going rabbit mode a lot. Thank goodness, because he's so cute. But is he the only one? I think he's the only animal character that I've seen actually go animal mode. It makes sense for discussions on death to kind of reach an impasse. But I guess it just feels like a lot of drama for little resolution, I guess. I knew it. He isn't from here. He's from Alice in the Country of Joker. I don't actually remember that one, I'm going to be honest. I do remember that asshole who shows up. Yeah, that one. Oh, they don't make it easy. They don't make it easy at all. So I thought because this wasn't through Seven Seas that person was not involved in this translation. Nope. Involved. I think it's a little bit of a cheat to have Alice in the Country of Joker here, because it is not like tied into the story itself. And I love it in the sense that we get more world building, that the randomness of the day, you know, how it will suddenly go from midday to deepest midnight, and suddenly it shifts to like seasons. I think that's really interesting, and I do like getting a glimpse of that. But yeah, this doesn't have anything to do with like Alice in the Country of Hearts. So, good marketing strategy, though, I can't lie. It is a little bit rough in that, you know, it's one chapter and you're bouncing around all of the areas and getting like this whole world building lore. But yeah. Also, Blood was not an asshole there, and that was really nice to see. It is genuinely so upsetting that she writes him so bad and draws him so good. So earlier on, I parroted a talking point which I had seen, but which is actually not true. It doesn't cover all of the romance arcs. It kind of dances around them, perhaps, but Mary Goland doesn't have. He is romanceable, I'm pretty sure, but he doesn't have that here. I think the only one with duties who doesn't have a romance arc is the king. Which feelings. The twins do, but they also can switch between forms the way that the rabbit does. However you feel about that, we're not getting into it. But yeah, I don't think that's true. I think most annoying of all is the fact that this is an Otome game. You've picked a route to romance and you've done nothing but make them antagonistic. Like in the last issue, I was like, oh, I actually like Boris, and Julius was so sweet and considerate. And this asshole, like, they barely interacted. Just, it is just a baffling decision to me. She has so much time with almost everyone else, and yet the one that she ends up with, you have her like honestly, understandably hating him. Yeah, disappointed. Hello, it's dark because I decided I was going to go to sleep. And I love this series so much, and I thought, I'm so sad it's over. Let's just have a look and see if we can get any of the manga secondhand. And then I fucking remembered the translator, and it's like, maybe not.